Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place that takes the source material you're curious about, unpacks it, and gives you the knowledge you need. No jargon, just insight.
And today, well, it's a topic that's touched a lot of people. We're doing a deep dive into the life, the career, and the really poignant final curtain call of a daytime television legend, Tristan Rogers.
Yeah, a true icon. Our mission today is to really explore the details around his passing, but maybe more importantly, to look at this incredible, almost unbelievable contrast between his last scenes on screen.
It's fascinating, isn't it? Because we're talking about two different shows, General Hospital and Young and the Restless, and two completely different endings for his characters.
Exactly. We've got sources covering his amazing career spanning, nearly 5 decades, and details about the sheer dedication he showed right up to the very end.
It really is a remarkable story of contrast. You have one character, Robert Scorpio on GH, getting this sweet kind of happy family reunion.
Sailing off into the sunset, almost literally.
Yeah, exactly. And then his other character, Colin on YNR, delivered these incredibly raw, emotional deathbed scenes. It's a lot to unpack.
It really is. The timing, the content of those scenes, it feels like art imitating life in a way that's just profound.
It does. So let's start with the news itself. The confirmation came through that Tristan Rogers passed away at age 79. That was on Friday, August 15th, 2025.
And the reaction was immediate. Just this huge shockwave across the soap opera community, right? Even for fans who maybe had noticed he wasn't looking quite himself lately.
There had been some comments online, people observing his health over the last few months before he passed.
And his manager confirmed the cause of death. He lost his battle with lung cancer.
Which is already tragic, of course. But the detail that really hits home, and his manager specifically pointed this out in the sources.
He'd never been a smoker.
Never. Not once. And that just underscores the cruelty of the disease, doesn't it? It makes it feel even more unfair somehow.
It absolutely does. It adds this layer of human tragedy beyond just losing a beloved actor.
And the impact on fans was huge. You saw it everywhere online. Fans of GH, fans of YNR, just the sense of loss.
There's this feeling, and you hear it a lot lately, that we're losing all the greats from that golden era of soaps in the 80s.
Right. Those actors who've been constants in people's living rooms for 40, 50 years. And Tristan Rogers was definitely one of those constants. His passing really cemented that feeling for a lot of viewers.
So let's dive into that legacy. It really has to start with Robert Scorpio on ABC's General Hospital, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. That's the role. 45 years. Robert Scorpio is Tristan Rogers for millions of people. You really can't talk about the peak years of GH without him.
He defined so much of it. So for anyone maybe tuning in more recently, or maybe you only know the YNR side, who was Robert Scorpio?
Well, he wasn't just, the local doctor or businessman in Port Charles. Robert Scorpio was this larger-than-life figure. He was a WSB spy, that's the World Security Bureau.
Right, the show's fictional intelligence agency.
Exactly. An international man of mystery, basically.
Yeah.
He arrived back in the early 80s and became this absolutely central player.
People often called him an Australian 007, and that description fits perfectly, I think. He had the accent, the charm, the action chops.
He really did. And you have to remember the context. This was the absolute heyday for General Hospital. We're talking peak Luke and Laura mania. Ratings were through the roof.
Astronomical numbers, yeah.
And Robert Scorpio was a massive part of that success. He was often the foil for Luke, sometimes a partner, always bringing this element of adventure and global intrigue.
He really expanded the show's canvas, didn't he? Before characters like Scorpio, soaps were mostly, about family drama in one town.
He brought in these huge international capers, treasure hunts, fighting global crime syndicates, espionage plots. It changed what daytime television could be, that charisma, that kind of rugged sophistication. It was just perfect for that new kind of hero.
And it allowed for these really iconic, long-running relationships. You can't talk Scorpio without mentioning Holly Sutton.
Oh, the Robert and Holly romance, played by Emma Sams. That was truly epic. Decades of storyline potential right there.
Absolutely. And also his very complex, often bittersweet, relationship with Anna Devane, another WSB agent.
Right. These weren't just simple love stories. They were deeply intertwined with the spy plots, the danger, the secrets. They formed the backbone of that whole adventure side of GH for years.
It's quite affecting then, looking back now with the knowledge we have, to consider those observations about his health towards the end.
Yeah, the sources were quite specific, people noticed. When you see someone on screen almost daily for years, you pick up on changes.
And over those last 6 months or so, leading up to his final GH episodes, the comments were consistent. thinner, frailer. Some said he had aged significantly, quite quickly.
It was visible. And now, of course, we understand that this wasn't just, the normal aging process. This was the outward sign of his private battle with lung cancer.
Which just makes you think about the strength it must have taken to keep working, to keep performing under those circumstances, knowing you're terminally ill.
Incredible professionalism.
Yeah.
Which leads us to what everyone thought, for a little while anyway, was his final television appearance. That was on General Hospital, aired July 18th.
Right. A fairly short arc, just 2 episodes, but it served a very specific purpose within the show's story.
It did. It was designed to facilitate the exit of actress Sophia Madsen, who played Sasha Gilmore.
Now, this is where things get a little bit soap opera complicated, isn't it, with the character history?
Huh. Yeah, just a bit. The sources point out this involved a pretty significant rewrite of Robert Scorpio's history.
Because Sasha had only been revealed as Robert's daughter a few months before this exit storyline.
Exactly. Which, for a character with 45 years of established history, suddenly having an adult daughter appear out of nowhere, that was a big shift. A major rewrite very late in the game.
It says a lot about his willingness to go with the flow, though, doesn't it? Agreeing to incorporate this new family member just as she was leaving.
It really does. A testament to his cooperation, for sure. But the outcome for the character, for Robert Scorpio, was actually quite lovely.
It was very sweet. He gets reunited with Sasha, this daughter he barely knows, and he gets to meet his granddaughter, Daisy.
And the storyline concluded with Sasha and Daisy moving in with Robert. So suddenly, this lifelong lone wolf spy has this instant family, a really warm, happy ending for him.
And then his actual departure from the canvas was framed as him leaving town indefinitely with his great love, Holly Sutton, Emma Samms' character.
Right. It gave the character a plausible reason to be off-screen without killing him off. It felt like a fitting, hopeful exit, sailing off with Holly.
But now, knowing the reality, the sources make it clear this exit was really about allowing Tristan Rogers the time he needed for his cancer treatment.
Exactly. So GH provided this sort of fictionalized happy ending, this peaceful retirement image for the character. Robert Scorpio gets his family, gets his love, and rides off into the sunset.
It's a lovely image for fans to hold on to, definitely.
Yeah.
The iconic spy-finding piece.
It really is.
Yeah.
But, and this is a huge but, that wasn't the actual final image viewers got of Tristan Rogers on screen.
No. And this is where the story takes that sharp emotional turn. We have to switch channels, metaphorically speaking, over to CBS and his other long-running role.
We need to talk about Colin Atkinson on The Young and the Restless.
The contrast is just staggering.
It couldn't be more different, could it?
Mm-hmm.
For years, he played these two diametrically opposed characters on competing networks. If Robert Scorpio was the hero,
Colin Atkinson was the villain. Well, maybe anti-hero at times.
sometimes, he was certainly charming. The sources describe him as quite a charming con artist, an Australian career criminal full of mischief, always looking for the next score.
And not small scores either. The sources mention him stealing, $2 billion from Devin Hamilton at one point.
Yeah, he played for high stakes. His introduction to Y&R back in 2010 established him immediately arrived in Genoa City, fresh out of prison in Australia for organized crime. Chaos tended to follow him.
And famously, he was one of the great loves or perhaps great challenges of Jill Abbott's life. Played by the legendary Jess Walton, their chemistry was fantastic.
It really was. Tumultuous but undeniable. He initially came to town looking for his son, Kane Ashby.
Who at the time was played by Daniel Goddard. And isn't it funny, Daniel Goddard is now over on GH himself. Small world in soaps.
It absolutely is. So Colin's initial goal was pretty nefarious. He wanted Kane to embrace his destiny as the heir to the family's criminal empire back in Australia.
Basically, follow in his dad's footsteps into a life of crime.
Right. Kane thankfully refused. But Colin stuck around, got involved with Jill, got tangled up in all the Genoa City drama. He was a recurring force of nature on Y&R for years.
Okay, so now we get to the really crucial part of this deep dive. The surprising, almost unbelievable fact that Tristan Rogers' very last appearance on television wasn't as Robert Scorpio.
But as Colin Atkinson.
Yeah, and think about the timing again. His GH appearance, looking frail but getting that happy ending, aired July 18th.
3 weeks later, he passed away.
But after his death, Y&R viewers were given this unexpected final scene, a flashback featuring Colin Atkinson, a character he hadn't played regularly for quite some time.
It truly felt like a final gift. Unexpected, poignant, and deeply connected to the current storyline on YNR.
And the context of the scene itself is vital here. This wasn't just a random flashback. It was specifically framed as Colin's deathbed scene from 2024.
Viewers were seeing Colin's final moments, his last words to his son, Kane. Raw, difficult stuff.
And adding another layer of sort of soap opera serendipity, this flashback was actually the only time Tristan Rogers ever worked with the actor currently playing Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn.
That's right. Billy Flynn had only recently returned to the role after being away for 6 years. So Rogers' final act was filmed opposite the new Kane, bridging that gap. Incredible.
The emotional weight of these scenes then, knowing the actor himself was in his final weeks,
Yeah.
is almost overwhelming.
It really is. The scene depicted Kane at his father's bedside. Colin is clearly frail and fragile, very weak. Kane is trying to keep his spirits up, reading him the news.
Trying to engage him, maybe distract him a bit.
Exactly. Kane even tries to talk business, telling Colin he needs to stick around to see more zeros in their bank accounts, trying to appeal to the old con man.
But Colin wasn't having it.
No. He knew his time was up. And instead of focusing on money or schemes, he had these very specific, very clear final wishes for his son. It showed this clarity, this depth that maybe the old Colin wouldn't have had.
And that first piece of advice he gives Kane, hearing it now, knowing Tristan Rogers' own situation, it's just devastating.
He cuts Kane off from the business talk and just says simply, out of time.
Wow.
Yep.
Delivered by an actor who was literally running out of time himself.
The double meaning is just profound. It's Colin, the character, acknowledging his end, but it's also Tristan, perhaps, reflecting his own reality. He shifted the focus immediately from business to emotion.
And his advice was all about Kane's emotional well-being, wasn't it?
Entirely. He tells Kane to lean on his family. He gives him that timeless wisdom. Don't stay away for too long.
Which is beautiful advice from anyone. But coming from Colin Atkinson, a man defined by his criminal past, his schemes, his often strained family ties.
It's incredibly poignant. It's like the father finding the wisdom at the very end that he couldn't quite grasp during his life, giving Kane the guidance he himself lacked.
Then he gets really specific about Kane's current storyline on YNR. Kane was wrestling with this dark persona, Aristotle Duma.
Right. This Dumas identity was tied to the family's criminal past, the very legacy Colin had once tried to force onto Kane. It represented danger, darkness.
And here's Colin on his deathbed, completely reversing his position.
Completely. He tells Kane about the Dumas name. It's only a name, it's not a person. He urges him not to lose himself, Kane Ashby, to that darkness. Hold on to who you really are.
It's just incredible. Tristan Rogers in his final performance is delivering lines that are crucial for resolving a major current storyline for another character. He's literally passing the torch, ensuring the narrative moves forward.
The dedication to the story, even a story on a show he wasn't a regular on anymore, is just breathtaking.
But maybe the most touching detail, the one that really encapsulates the complexity of Colin,
Is his request about Jill Abbott.
Yeah. He tells Kane, don't tell Jill how much I love her.
Because it'll make it harder when I'm gone.
Oh, man. That's the ultimate romantic rogue move, isn't it?
Mhm.
Even in death, trying to protect the woman he loved from the full extent of the pain. A selfless act from a character often defined by selfishness.
It perfectly captures that charming con artist thing. Criminal exterior, but with this deep well of feeling underneath. Protecting Jill was his last act of love.
He wasn't focused on his own legacy or fear. It was about Kane's future, Jill's grief. And he wasn't quite done giving Kane instructions either, was he?
No, he had one more piece of business regarding Lily Winters, Kane's ex-wife. He basically asks Kane how long he's going to wait to talk to Lily, to tell her everything that's been happening.
Pushing him towards reconciliation, towards honesty.
Exactly. Kane promises he'll do it when the time is right. And then Colin gets Kane to promise one last thing.
Get rid of the Dumas thing. Put that darkness behind him after talking to Lily.
He's literally mapping out Kane's character arc from his deathbed, giving him clear post-mortem instructions for the storyline's future. It's just astounding dedication.
So we really have to pause and just absorb this professional contrast. It's almost hard to reconcile the two farewells.
It really is. On General Hospital, Robert Scorpio gets the comfortable, fictional happy ending. He sails off with Holly, surrounded by family. The character leaves, but lives on, potentially to return someday.
A gentle, hopeful exit.
And then on Young and the Restless, Colin Atkinson gets these incredibly raw, tragic deathbed scenes. Scenes that directly mirrored the actor's own reality, giving these profound final instructions. It's the complete opposite tone.
So how do we process that? How did he manage to deliver both?
That's where you have to talk about his remarkable professionalism, his commitment. filming those YNR scenes, playing a dying man while facing his own mortality.
Delivering a performance that must have felt terrifyingly real because, in a way, it was real for him. The frailty, the emotion.
It takes incredible discipline to give GH that sweet farewell for Scorpio and then turn around and deliver this gut-wrenching, honest portrayal of death for YNR.
It truly feels like he consciously used his final weeks to give these two very different, very powerful gifts to the viewers who had followed him for so long.
I think that's a really beautiful way to look at it, a final act of service to the characters and the audience.
Okay, let's shift gears slightly in this third segment. Let's talk a bit more about Tristan Rogers, the man, his family, and the outpouring of tributes from those who knew him and worked with him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because behind these iconic roles was, by all accounts, a really well-loved person.
We know he's survived by his wife, Teresa. They were married for 30 years, which is a lovely, long partnership away from the spotlight.
That's a lifetime in any world, let alone Hollywood. He also leaves behind 2 daughters, Sarah and Cale Rogers, and 1 grandchild. So clearly a family man at heart.
And his manager shared some insights that really connect his personal life to his professional dedication. She confirmed what many suspected. That role, Robert Scorpio, meant everything to him.
Yeah, and she shared that fantastic origin story, how he basically created the role from nothing.
Right. Apparently, he was only booked for 1 day initially on GH. 1 day.
Can you imagine? And he turned that single day into a 45-year legacy. Through sheer charisma, talent, making that character indispensable.
It speaks volumes about his impact from day one. His manager also described him simply as a genuinely loyal, kind human being.
And that suggests the integrity people saw on screen. Even when he was playing the rogue like Colin, maybe wasn't entirely an act, that kindness seems to have been genuine.
The tributes from colleagues certainly reflect that. They poured in immediately from both GH and YNR. Frank Valentini, the executive producer of GH, said the entire GH family was heartbroken.
Valentini really captured his impact, acknowledging Rogers had captivated fans for more than 50 years. He called him a one-of-a-kind talent and stated, very simply, that Port Charles will not be the same without him or Robert Scorpio.
It's true. He wasn't just on the show. He was part of its DNA.
And the tribute from his longtime scene partner, Emma Sam's Holly Sutton, was especially moving.
Oh, absolutely. She mentioned being incredibly sad, naturally, but also so grateful for having worked with him for more than 40 years. Think about that shared history.
40 years of creating stories together, and she gave this wonderful insight into his working style. She credited him with teaching her about spontaneity and fun on set.
Even with all the drama Robert and Holly went through.
Right. She said he taught her how to be comfortable in front of the cameras, how to find the joy even amidst the trials and tribulations of their intense storylines. It paints a picture of someone who brought lightness to the work.
Laura Wright, who plays Carly on GH, another powerhouse veteran, kept her tribute short but powerful. It was truly an honor.
Coming from someone like her, that carries a lot of weight. It speaks to the respect he commanded within the industry.
And John Lindstrom, who plays Kevin Collins on GH, shared his sadness too, but also gave us a glimpse of the man's personality.
Yeah, I loved his description. He called Rogers one of the coolest, funniest people I ever met.
And he added that whenever they worked together, which he wished was more often, they never missed a chance to try and crack the other one up.
That detail, that he was always looking for a laugh, trying to make his co-stars break character. It's such a wonderful contrast to the often serious, intense roles he played.
It suggests someone who took the craft seriously, absolutely, but maybe didn't take himself too seriously. He knew how to have fun with it.
And this wave of tributes coming from both shows, spanning generations of actors, really highlights the breadth of his impact. It also connects to this larger feeling viewers have right now.
Yeah, the sense of an era ending. The sources mentioned his passing in the context of other recent losses of soap legends, people like Leslie Charlson, Drake Hogestyn, Denise Alexander, Jackie Zimmerman.
It feels like that core group, the titans of 80s daytime, is sadly diminishing. And for viewers who grew up with these actors, who invited them into their homes every day for decades.
It's like losing a member of the family in a way. Tristan Rogers was such a fixture, weaving his magic across 2 different fictional universes simultaneously. It's a huge loss.
It truly is. A constant presence gone.
So as we start to wrap up this deep dive, let's try and bring it all together, this remarkable dual legacy.
You have Robert Scorpio, the ultimate hero, the adventurous WSB spy who defined action and romance on GH for decades.
And then you have Colin Atkinson, the charming rogue, the con artist with a hidden heart, bringing chaos and complex love to Y&R. Two iconic, yet totally different characters.
The way his career concluded,
Yeah.
that final twist of his last appearance being the Y&R deathbed scene, it's just unforgettable. It was this unexpected, deeply poignant gift to fans of both shows.
What really resonates, I think, is the sheer dedication it demonstrated. Thinking again about him filming those raw, painful Y&R scenes.
Knowing his own time was limited, the level of commitment to the craft, to the character, to the story, right up until the very end. It's honestly staggering.
It goes beyond just doing your job, doesn't it? It feels like an act of profound respect for the audience and for the fictional worlds he helped build, ensuring Colin's story had closure, even as his own life was ending.
Absolutely. It was like a final salute to the narrative, making sure it could continue meaningfully past his own involvement.
Which makes you think, about the unique power of this medium of daytime drama. We spent this time talking about how deeply he embodied these roles, the loyalty he clearly felt.
And the bond it creates with the audience over decades is immense.
So maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to ponder. What does it really say about soap operas and that connection they forge when an actor's final professional act filmed under unimaginable personal strain is this gift?
Yeah, a gift dedicated to advancing the story of the character he hadn't even played regularly in years, ensuring that fictional world, those relationships, could continue and evolve.
That level of dedication, that commitment to the story above all else, that's something truly special and truly unforgettable. Tristan Rogers' final bow was a masterclass in professionalism and perhaps in love for the craft and its audience.
Welcome to The Deep Dive, the only place where we take a vast stack of sources, research, and analysis and really try to distill it down to the essential, the fascinating, and often the surprising truth. Today, we are immersing ourselves, really doing a deep dive into the decade-spanning career of an absolute icon of daytime television, the late, great Tristan Rogers.
And this is such a critical deep dive, I think, because the story of his life, his career, I mean, we're talking 45 years, two huge soap opera worlds. It's complex.
Right.
He left behind not just one legacy, but really two distinct legacies. And what we're seeing in the sources, it's this striking, almost bittersweet contrast between the very final scenes he filmed for both shows he called home, General Hospital and The Young and Restless.
Yeah, that's exactly the mission today.
Yeah.
We want to unpack the sources, understand the facts around his passing, sure, but also the monumental impact of his whole tenure. And specifically, like you said, why those character farewells were so dramatically, almost poetically different. We really want to get a handle on the sheer scope of his final professional act.
Okay, so let's start with the core facts. Tristan Rogers passed away on Friday, August 15th, 2025. He was 79.
Right.
He had been courageously battling lung cancer. And the thing that really jumps out in all the sourced obituaries, the thing that makes it uniquely tragic, is the specific revelation that he was a non-smoker.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that detail, him facing lung cancer despite never smoking, it just adds this layer of tragic irony, doesn't it?
Yeah.
To the whole medical battle he was fighting right up until, his final weeks.
It does.
It certainly makes you respect the professional commitments he kept up during that time even more, which, we're definitely going to analyze that in depth.
Indeed. I mean, it forces you to appreciate the resilience it must have taken to deliver the performances we're about to discuss, even while dealing with, well, the biggest personal challenge imaginable.
Yeah.
But, okay, to really grasp the magnitude of his farewell, we have to start where the legend really began, Port Charles, New York. And the spy who basically stole America's heart.
Okay, let's unpack this legend then. Tristan Rogers' primary role, the one that defined him for decades, it was, without question, Robert Scorpio on General Hospital. He started way back in the 1980s, which was, the absolute peak for the show, right? Smack in the middle of that iconic Luke and Laura era.
You really can't overstate how important his entry was. Robert Scorpio wasn't, just another character. He was this archetype that completely changed the game at General Hospital.
Right.
He was this legendary, globe-trotting secret agent for the WSB, that's the World Security Bureau. And you see him described constantly in the sources as an Australian 007.
That description, the Australian 007, it's perfect. Because it really captures that shift in tone, doesn't it? Before Robert, sure, GH had drama, high stakes even. But his introduction brought in this genuine action-adventure vibe.
Yeah.
He had this intense charisma, bit of danger, and let's be honest, that accent.
Oh, the accent.
Yeah, that distinct, magnetic accent just instantly made him a massive fan favorite.
And it wasn't just luck. You know, the sources really emphasize that his arrival lined up perfectly with some of the most famous storylines in TV history, like the whole Ice Princess saga.
Oh, yeah, legendary.
He provided that necessary international intrigue, to support those epic, sprawling plots. He turned General Hospital into something that felt bigger than life, almost cinematic, really cemented that golden age status.
And here's where the story gets almost unbelievable. The start of it all.
Yeah.
The sources, quote, his manager, confirming Tristan Rogers, was initially hired for just one day.
One day.
One single day. And yet, as his manager said, he ended up making it into something huge. That just speaks volumes about his immediate magnetism, right? He didn't just fill a script need, he created a character the show couldn't live without.
He absolutely changed the course of GH with that charisma. And it wasn't just for the spy stuff, the adventures. That magnetism fueled the key relationships, the romances, that really solidified Robert Scorpio's legacy and built storylines that lasted for generations.
Right. The two main women in Robert's life really defined him, didn't they?
Absolutely.
First, you had that epic on-again, off-again thing with Holly Sutton, played by Emma Samms. That pairing went on for, 4 decades? Countless adventures.
40 years, yeah. Incredible chemistry.
And that's, of course, the other big one. That long-running, really complicated, often bittersweet relationship with Anna Devane, played by Finola Hughes.
Mm-hmm. And it's so crucial to remember that relationship gave us Robin Scorpio.
Yes.
And Robin is arguably one of the most beloved, most enduring characters in GH history. She's still central to the show today, and that's entirely thanks to the foundation laid by Tristan Rogers' character. Robert Scorpio's legacy is literally still unfolding in Port Charles.
Okay, so that's the foundation. Decades of history. Which makes the nature of his final appearance on General Hospital so fascinating,
Right.
especially given what we know now. It happened shortly before his death.
Right.
His very last scenes on the ABC soap aired on July 18th, 2025.
And the context around this final exit is really important. It was a very short arc, just 2 episodes, and it wasn't, the big heroic send-off you might expect for the Australian 007.
No.
The sources indicate the scenes were primarily written to facilitate the departure of another actress, Sophia Matson, who plays Sasha Gilmore.
Which meant, correct me if I'm wrong, the writers had to pull off a pretty quick and significant rewrite just months before, didn't they?
That's right.
Because Sasha had only recently been revealed as Robert's long-lost daughter, which was, a pretty big surprise given her established history.
Actually, it was definitely a fast pivot. But, it resulted in what felt like a structurally beautiful piece of closure for the character, maybe even tailored specifically to the actor's needs at that time.
How so?
Well, Robert gets reunited with Sasha. He gets to meet his granddaughter, Daisy. They move into his house in Port Charles. And then the biggest part, Robert Scorpio doesn't die. He doesn't face some awful tragedy.
No, he leaves town.
He leaves town with his great love, Holly Sutton.
They literally rode off into the sunset.
Okay.
More adventures. It felt like a happy ending for Robert, the character. A spy who maybe deserves some peace after all those years.
It did, but...
Mhm.
And this is where the sources make that really poignant contrast. That happy ending on screen was happening against the stark reality of the actor's health.
Yeah.
Even in those final 6 months leading up to that July appearance, fans, commentators online, they were observing that Rogers looked increasingly, thin and frail. He seemed to have aged quite noticeably.
That visible fragility, yeah. Even delivering lines about adventure and happiness, it led to a lot of fan speculation, didn't it? That something serious might be going on behind the scenes.
Intense speculation, and that speculation, of course, was tragically confirmed later. It was his battle with cancer. The timing, the chronology, it strongly suggests, as many sources noted, that his departure from General Hospital was likely designed to let him step away from that demanding daily schedule.
To pursue treatment.
Exactly, to pursue treatment. It feels like an exit built out of respect for the actor's private battle, while still giving his iconic character this peaceful, definitive sense of closure.
It's an incredibly heavy thing to think about. A character known for vitality, for adventure, given this safe, peaceful exit. Essentially so the actor could face his own biggest fight.
Mm-hmm.
But as sad as that July exit was, it wasn't the whole story. Not even close. To really appreciate his dedication, we need to look at his other famous persona. Okay, let's shift gears then. Let's talk about the second major pillar of Tristan Rogers' career, a character that honestly introduced him to a whole different daytime audience and really showed off his incredible range. Colin Atkinson on The Young and the Restless.
Right. And if Robert Scorpio was the hero, the principal WSB spy, Colin Atkinson was almost his shadow self, wasn't he?
Totally.
Tristan Rogers originated Colin, the Australian con man, back in 2010. Colin was a complete rogue, fresh out of prison for organized crime stuff back in Australia when he first hit Genoa City.
And he arrived with a purpose, didn't he? Looking for his son, Kane Ashby.
Primarily, yeah.
And the contrast between Robert and Colin is just...
It's fascinating.
Robert defined by heroism, Colin defined by his criminal ways, but somehow...
Still charming.
undeniably charming. The sources really highlight this dual nature perfectly when they summarize his character arc. I mean, he was responsible for some huge crimes. Remember, he stole, what, $2 billion from Devin Hamilton?
That was massive.
Huge scheme. But at the same time, he somehow manages to steal the heart of Jill Abbott, one of Genoa City's absolute core matriarchs.
Right.
He was a total villain, but Rogers played him with so much charisma, you couldn't help but kind of root for the scoundrel sometimes. That ability to play two completely different guys on two rival networks, often bouncing between them for years, it made him such a unique figure in daytime.
Absolutely unique.
And so when the news of his passing broke, the industry response was immediate, wasn't it? And it really came from both sides, from both the GH and the YNR families.
Oh, completely. The outpouring of tributes was really personal, too. It showed just how highly regarded he was. Frank Valentini, the General Hospital showrunner, he immediately expressed the heartbreak of the whole cast and crew, called Rogers a one-of-a-kind talent. And he made that definitive statement. Port Charles will not be the same without him or Robert Scorpio.
And the connection with Emma Sams, who played Holly opposite him for so long.
Yeah.
That really speaks volumes, doesn't it?
40 years.
40 years working together. Her tribute was so specific about his influence on her early on. She said he taught her spontaneity and fun, and crucially, how to just be comfortable in front of the cameras when she was just starting out.
See, that's a legacy that goes way beyond just the lines on a script page, isn't it? It's about mentorship, real camaraderie, especially in that high-pressure world of daily soap production.
Definitely. And that feeling was echoed by others, too. Laura, right? Carly on GH, she just posted, "It was truly an honor. Simple, but powerful."
Yeah.
And John Lindstrom, who plays Kevin Collins, he shared how sad he was, calling Tristan one of the coolest, funniest people he knew.
Yeah.
And he mentioned they never missed a chance to try and crack the other one up on set.
You really get the strong sense from all the sources. Here is a guy who took his craft incredibly seriously, huge talent, obviously, but he also brought this, lightheartedness, this joy that probably made that grueling soap pace a bit more bearable, maybe even fun for everyone around him.
And that joy, according to his manager in the tributes, it was really anchored in his personal life, too. While playing Robert Scorpio meant everything to him professionally, the sources also emphasized his deep loyalty and love for his family. His wife, Teresa, they were married 30 years, his two daughters, Sarah and Cale, and his grandchild.
Knowing about that strong personal foundation, that loyalty, it only makes the professional commitment he made in his very final days even more astonishing.
Right.
A commitment that really stunned the industry and brings us to his absolute final screen appearance.
This is where the story takes that really unexpected turn and where the sources just demand we look closer at his dedication. Okay, so let's recap slightly. Robert Scorpio, happy ending, rise off with Holly. Final scenes aired July 18th.
Right. Peaceful closure for the character.
We all pretty much assumed that was his final professional act,
Yeah.
the end of an era, but then the unexpected happened. His absolute final on-screen appearance wasn't as the iconic Robert Scorpio at all.
No, it was as Colin Atkinson on The Young and the Restless.
Which was a complete shock to viewers, right? A final gift, maybe, for the CBS audience.
Absolutely a surprise. Rogers hadn't played Colin in years. But these scenes, they were flashbacks detailing the death of the Colin character, which happened back in 2024 in the show's timeline. And they aired on YNR recently after Tristan Rogers had already passed away in real life.
This is the core of it, isn't it?
Yeah.
The sources just keep highlighting the truly remarkable professionalism this must have taken.
Incredible.
These were deathbed scenes, heavy stuff, final requests, mortality, filmed when Tristan Rogers himself was in his own final days battling terminal cancer.
The emotional weight, the physical reality, it's staggering to think about, to basically harness the experience of facing your own terminal illness and use that to portray a character's final painful goodbye.
I mean,
it's a transcendent level of acting dedication. The sources use the phrase remarkable professionalism, and honestly, it feels like an understatement. He delivered his final, maybe his rawest performance, literally in the face of his own passing.
And there's another layer here, kind of a fascinating, almost soap operatic detail about his co-star in those scenes.
Yeah.
These scenes were filmed with the recast Kane Ashby, played by Billy Flynn. Flynn had only recently returned to YNR after being gone for 6 years.
Right. And the sources explicitly point out this was the first, last, and only time that Tristan Rogers ever worked directly with Billy Flynn playing Kane.
Wow.
It's this moment of connection that was immediately, made sacred by the circumstances of the filming and Rogers' subsequent death.
And if you want another layer of just how interconnected this daytime world is,
Go on.
Colin's original son, Kane, the first actor, Daniel Goddard, he's now over on General Hospital, playing Professor Hank Dalton.
Oh, that's right. See, the sheer rotation of talent in this specific genre, it's just laid bare in these final goodbyes. Amazing.
It really is. But let's focus back on the content of those final YNR scenes, because they are incredibly poignant. They almost feel like a final message from the character himself.
Okay.
So Kane is there, taking care of Colin, who looks visibly frail and fragile, according to the descriptions. Kane's trying to read him news, talk business.
But Colin wasn't having it.
No. His response to Kane trying to talk business was just loaded with implication. He told Kane he didn't want to hear about it because, quote, they were simply out of time.
Oh, man. Given the actor's own reality, that line just hits differently, doesn't it? Hits hard.
Seismic source, yeah. And Colin's advice, it shifted completely then, away from business toward legacy, emotional connection.
Right. He urged his son to lean on family, warned him, don't stay away for too long. It wasn't about final instructions for some scheme. It was about settling his emotional debts.
And the most crushing emotional request, the one everyone remembers from those scenes, was about Jill, the love of his life.
Yeah. What did he say?
Colin made Kane promise him. And this is a direct quote the sources highlight. Don't tell Jill how much I love her, because it'll make it harder when I'm gone.
Wow, that's just the perfect summation of Colin Atkinson, isn't it? The criminal who loves so fiercely, he chooses to spare the person he loves that final pain of really knowing the depth of what she's losing.
Exactly. It's incredibly selfless, in a way, and heartbreaking. Must have required immense control from Rogers to deliver that.
Unbelievable control.
But the scene wasn't just about Jill. There was this powerful warning woven in there, too, about identity.
Ah, right, the Aristotle Dumas thing.
Yes. Kane had been using this professional persona, Aristotle Duma, and Colin warned him about losing himself in it. He said, it's only a name, it's not a person.
That advice, don't lose yourself to the persona, that might be the deepest philosophical note in the whole scene. And talk about irony, given the actor's own career playing these huge personas.
Right, and the final promise Colin got from Kane was to get rid of the Dumas thing after he was gone. And the sources confirm that final instruction is actually driving a major storyline for Kane on YNR right now.
So his final act as Colin is still having repercussions in the show's current plot.
Exactly. So, okay, we have the hero, Robert Scorpio, given a peaceful, happy ending, filmed by a visibly frail actor back in July. And then we have the charming villain, Colin Atkinson, given this tragic, deeply emotional deathbed scene, filmed by a terminally ill actor in literally his last moments of work.
Two profoundly different goodbyes, both equally powerful, but for completely different reasons.
Okay, this is where our deep dive really tries to synthesize the impact. Because the tale of these two final performances, these two goodbyes, it gives us the most incredible insight into Tristan Rogers' contribution to daytime right up until the very end.
It really does. Let's compare them analytically for a second. The General Hospital exit for Robert Scorpio. It gave the character this profoundly positive closure, didn't it?
Totally. Reunion with family, off adventure with Holly.
Right. It felt like a respectful nod from the writers to the actor, maybe acknowledging his need for privacy, for rest. It let the fans keep a happy image of the character they'd loved for 45 years, gave him a bright future, even if, deep down they suspected the sad truth about the actor's health.
Contrast that sharply then with The Young and the Restless. Colin Atkinson's exit was the polar opposite.
Completely. A tragic deathbed scene. Heavy. Focused on family love, sure, but also identity. Complicated legacies. Regret, maybe.
And it required the actor, Rogers, to dive deep into the emotional and, frankly, the physical realities of dying, things he was actually experiencing in his own life at that moment.
That profound difference, it just underscores his dedication, doesn't it? And it really supports that idea we mentioned of the final gift to the fans of both shows. He seemed to tailor his farewell to the specific needs of each character's story.
So the Robert Scorpio farewell was kind of a respectful send-off,
Yeah, closure for the icon.
while the Colin Atkinson scene was this demanding final artistic statement.
Exactly. A raw final performance.
It does make you wonder, though, why give that intensely challenging raw performance as Colin, a character he hadn't played in years, rather than as Robert, the role that really defined him for most people?
That's a great question. The sources seem to imply, maybe, that Robert's story needed that happy ending for narrative consistency, for the character's legacy, whereas the Colin storyline, it demanded that gritty realism, that finality.
And Rogers, ever the professional?
Delivered exactly what was needed, that raw realism. His final effort went into that scene.
Which brings us, I think, to the key takeaway about Tristan Rogers' greatest contribution. It wasn't just that he was around for a long time, or even that he crossed network lines, which was rare enough.
No, it was the sheer scope of his range.
Yes, his unparalleled ability to embody the heroic, intense WSB spy, the ultimate good guy, and then just pivot
Effortlessly.
and embody the charming criminal con artist with just as much intensity, just as much grace, and undeniable talent.
He had such mastery over it all that he could make you genuinely root for the spy 1 minute, and then just as easily make you sympathize with, maybe even cheer for, the scoundrel the next hour on a different channel. That complexity, that mastery of dual identity, that's what ensures he will never be forgotten.
His career really proves an actor can be defined by two huge, distinct roles at the same time.
Absolutely. While Robert was his foundation, 45 years, the basis of his fame, his later work as Colin was spectacular in its own right. It showed this incredible late career depth that not many actors achieve. His passing really does mark the end of a unique era, not just on one show, but across all of daytime drama. Hashtag tag outro.
So we've covered the tragic facts of his passing 79 lung cancer, despite being a non-smoker. We've looked at the enduring legacy of the Australian 007 Robert Scorpio, and we've unpacked that stunning, maybe even heartbreaking professionalism he showed in that unexpected, difficult, but ultimately beautiful final performance as Colin Atkinson.
Yeah, and what stands out most powerfully to me, thinking back on it all, is the weight that he, well, the character Colin, placed on the idea of identity right at the very end.
Right.
That final warning he gave Kane about the Aristotle Dumas persona. It's only a name, it's not a person.
Which brings us right back around to our final thought for you, the listener, to maybe chew on as you go about your day. In a career that was so defined by two monumental yet vastly different roles, the hero and the rogue, what does it truly mean for an actor's final curtain call, his final scene ever filmed, to be not the role that defined him for 45 years and brought him worldwide fame,
Robert Scorpio.
but the complex, maybe darker, newer character he hadn't actually played in several years?
It's a fascinating question. Was Robert Scorpio's happy send-off, the respectful final curtain call, acknowledging a life well played, a legacy secured, or does that tragic, incredibly professional deathbed scene of the charming villain Colin, fraught as it was with the actor's actual emotional weight, does that scene somehow capture the deeper, more profound essence of the famous last words of a truly celebrated, deeply talented star?
Which farewell truly speaks to his legacy. We'll leave you with that question of identity and final bows to ponder. And we thank you, as always, for diving deep with us today.